الوجوه للحي القيوم وقد خاب من حمل ظلما ومن يعمل من الصالحات وهو مؤمن فلا يخاف ظلما ولا هضما وكذلك أنزلناه قرآنا عربيا وصرفنا فيه من الوعيد لعلهم يتقون أو يحدث لهم ذكرا فتعالى الله الملك الحق ولا تعجل بالقرآن من قبل أن يقضى إليك وحيه وقل رب زدني علما ولقد عهدنا إلى آدم من قبل فنسي ولم نجد له عزما وإذ قلنا للملائكة اسجدوا لآدم فسجدوا إلا إبليس أبى فقلنا يا آدم إن هذا عدو لك ولزوجك فلا يخرجنكما من الجنة فتشقى إن لك ألا تجوع فيها ولا تعرى وأنك لا تظمأ فيها ولا تضحى فوسوس إليه الشيطان قال يا آدم هل أدلك على شجرة الخلد وملك لا يبلى فأكلا منها فبدت لهما سوآتهما وطفقا يخصفان عليهما من ورق الجنة وعصى آدم ربه فغوى ثم اجتباه ربه فتاب عليه وهدى قال اهبطا منها جميعا بعضكم لبعض عدو فإما يأتينكم مني هدى فمن اتبع هداي فلا يضل ولا يشقى ومن أعرض عن ذكري فإن له معيشة ضنكا ونحشره يوم القيامة أعمى قال رب لم حشرتني أعمى وقد كنت بصيرا قال كذلك أتتك آياتنا فنسيتها وكذلك اليوم تنسى وكذلك نجزي من أسرف ولم يؤمن بآيات ربه ولعذاب الآخرة أشد وأبقى أفلم يهد لهم كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون يمشون في مساكنهم إن في ذلك لآيات لأولي النهى ولولا كلمة سبقت من ربك لكان لزاما وأجل مسمى فاصبر على ما يقولون وسبح بحمد ربك قبل طلوع الشمس وقبل غروبها ومن آناء الليل فسبح وأطراف النهار ومن آناء الليل فسبح وأطراف النهار لعلك ترضى صدق الله العظيم. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله اللهم صل على محمد نعم بعث الرحيم المطعم
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على حي على الفلاح حي على الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. There are sometimes conversations that happen in our community. Conversations that really cause hatred between one another. Conversations that really lead people away from Islam. Today I wanted to discuss these conversations. I wanted to make us aware of these conversations so that way if we see them or if we ourselves are doing these conversations, we should try to stop. There are 5 different types of conversations that happen in Muslim communities. Number 1, they're called divisive conversations. Now, what do I mean by divisive? I mean that there are conversations which cause disagreements between people. Disagreements so much that there are people that will converse, they will talk about Islam, and they will say that their version of Islam is the best. They will say that they're following one school of thought or one sheikh, and they do one of 2 things. Number 1, either they'll talk about how awesome their version is, or number 2, they'll talk about how the other different opinions that are out there and how wrong they are. That's the first type of conversations. The second type of conversations are condemning conversations. These are conversations where when you talk to someone, they talk to you in such a way where they make you feel like I am definitely going to hell. I am definitely a horrible person. They just condemn you for everything that you do. And they try to put a microscope and they try to magnify your sins. And they make it seem like it's the biggest mistake you have ever done in your whole entire life. And sometimes they're known as the haram police. What they do is they just tell people this is haram and this is haram and this is haram. And these type of conversations also really, really destroy communities. And this doesn't just happen, in lectures, but this type of conversations happen in families as well. Sometimes parents, what we do is we raise our kids by just telling them, this is haram, don't do this, this is haram. If you don't do this, Allah will be angry at you. But sometimes we don't give them the other side of the story, that this is halal, you can actually do this in Islam. By you doing your homework, you're actually worshiping Allah. It's a form of ibadah. Those are sometimes things that, when the child grows up, they feel that, Islam is just all about everything's haram, everything I do is haram. So that's the second type, condemning conversations. So the first one was divisive conversations. The second one was condemning conversations. The third one is misplaced conversations. These are conversations where, Islam is like an ocean. There is so much knowledge in Islam. And the different branches in Islam, whether it be tafsir, whether it be hadith, whether it be fiqh, they have so much knowledge in between these branches. So much so that if you spent your entire lifetime studying just one of these sciences, you wouldn't be able to understand, you would only understand a little bit of it. So there are conversations that sometimes belong in a classroom. There are advanced conversations talking about fiqh issues like when you're making wudu, what type of water do you use, what is permissible, what is not. There are research papers that scholars talk about this. These type of conversations belong in a classroom, but when you sometimes start a blog, when you post this on social media, what happens is you cause so much confusion to everyone else. Everyone gets confused. And what happens is mostly people just want to come to you and just want to know how to become a better Muslim. Some people just want to come to you and just want to learn about Islam. They might not be Muslim. And then when you have this opportunity, when they come to you and they want to talk to you about Islam, you spend hours and hours talking about misplaced conversation. For example, Dajjal he's locked up somewhere in an island next to the Indian Ocean. He's going to come soon. Or how Ya'juj and Ma'juj, they might be somewhere in China. These type of conversations are misplaced conversations. There's a time and place for them, but those are not the time to have these type of conversations. The other type of conversations are unrealistic and immature conversations. Now, what do I mean by this? Sometimes, a speaker comes up and he says, Umar radiallahu anhu, he gave half of his wealth for the sake of Allah. Abu Bakr Siddiq gave all of his wealth for the sake of Allah. What will you give for the sake of Allah? And the person in the audience is thinking to himself, I don't know if I can give half of my wealth. I definitely can't give all of my wealth. I must be a horrible human being. But you have to kind of have some sort of reality of that situation. Yes, those are high standards that we have. They're in our history, in our Islam. But weren't there also Sahabas that didn't give half of their wealth or all of their wealth? Isn't Allah pleased with them and they're pleased with Allah? So sometimes what we do is we take unrealistic expectations about our faith, we talk about unrealistic things, and we make them as a standard. And we say this is the standard that everyone has to follow. I have been in circles where the person's talking about Islam and he's talking about the Quran or some story, and towards the end of it he'll say, what great people they were back in the day. We can never be like them. Well, if we can't be like them, then why are we talking about them? We sometimes have to understand that, there's a standard, there's a high standard, there are people that have achieved a really high standard, and that's why sometimes these stories are discussed, but that's not the standard for everyone. So that's another type of conversations, unrealistic and immature conversations. And our deen is very simple. There's a hadith of Imam al-Nawawi, he says that Rasulullah, somebody comes to him and he says, I'm just going to pray, I'm just going to fast, I'm not going to do any extra things. I'm not going to be the one praying Qiyamul Layl, I'm not going to be doing any of those things. I just want to do the minimum requirement, the 5 pillars. Will I get into Jannah? And Rasulullah replies, yes, you will get into Jannah. So that's how easy our faith is. And the last, so we discussed a couple of conversations, right? Number 1, divisive conversations. Number 2, condemning conversations. Number 3, misplaced conversations. Number 4, unrealistic and immature conversations. And the last one that I wanted to discuss are inauthentic conversations. What do I mean by this? There are some people, there are some things that we have that are a priority. And there are some other things that are not that much of a priority. And then there are other things that don't really have anything to do with Islam at all. Sometimes people take things that are not a priority and they will take that and make it the most priority. And I'll give an example. For some people, Zabiha meat is the most priority that is in their life about Islam. That's all they talk about. And they will just go to restaurants and they will just go to different grocery stores and just find out if that meat is halal or not. Or they won't go to other people's houses that are Muslim because they're just not sure if that meat is halal. So their conversation about Islam is just revolved around that. And that's what I mean by inauthentic conversations. Islam, sometimes what we do is we take the appearance of Islam and we put that to a higher value than the actual values of Islam. How we look to be a Muslim is more important than how we act as Muslims. So those are the 5 types of conversations. These are poisonous sometimes in our community. These are conversations that sometimes destroy communities that I wanted to bring about to everyone's attention. And now I wanted, inshallah, in the next clip, I will talk about how Allah invites people to Islam. وأقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Nahl, He discusses an idea of how to invite people to Islam. He says, ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن إن ربك هو أعلم بمن ضل عن سبيله وهو أعلم بالمهتدين. Allah begins first of all by saying ud'u. He first calls upon people, he says invite. Same word da'wah, invite. When you invite someone, why do you invite people? You invite people to show a sense of friendliness. You invite people because you want to get to know them better. That's why you invite people. So this way, this is what Allah is saying, that if you're trying to invite people to Islam or calling someone to Islam, then you have to make sure that all those poisonous conversations that we talked about just earlier, they all need to go. You cannot have these type of conversations when you are talking to people and inviting them to Islam. And this is my favorite part of the ayah actually. Allah begins, and He could have said multiple things. He could have said, invite to the obedience of Allah. He could have said, invite to the command of Allah. But He decides to say, invite to the path of Allah. Very, very important. All our job is in this life is to invite people to the path. We do not, it's different when you invite someone to a path, and it's different when you invite someone to a destination. We are not inviting people to a destination. We are just inviting people to a path. Some of us are in this path. Some of us are running in this path. Some of us are walking in this path. Some of us are ahead. Some of us are behind. Some of us are walking backwards. But all we need to do is just grab people's hand if they're stopping, if they're walking backwards, and just say, it's okay. Just keep going on this path. Just keep going. Just make a little bit of progress. That's all you need. Don't worry about it. Just come with me together on this path. And this path, right? ادعو إلى سبيل ربك. This is the path of Allah. It's not your path. You can't decide where people go. But Allah can decide. And Allah will know where these people are going. All you gotta do is just invite them. That's it. That's all we do in Islam. But how do you invite people? You invite people بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة. You invite people with wisdom. What Allah is saying, that use the 2 sources that Allah has given us, the Quran and the Sunnah. The Quran is it's filled with wisdom. Just look at the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam when he's pointing up at the sky and he says, is the moon Allah? And then the moon sets and he says, no, that can't be Allah. He points to the sun and he points to the stars. He's not just, crazy and just talking to himself in the middle of nowhere. There are actually people next to him, and he's using hikmah. He's using wisdom and telling people, how can you worship something that, just sets and disappears? That definitely cannot be God. We should invite people with wisdom. And we should invite people with the best of instruction, which is the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sometimes if you study the life, the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you can see that there are lessons. You will see that there are people that you can see how he dealt with some people, and you can see the same personalities that will come up today. And then afterwards, وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Sometimes when you talk to them about Islam, they will sometimes argue back. Some people just want to argue. That's what they want to do. But Allah is saying that, you should be smart about it, and be smart and make sure that you talk to them with something better. You should be smart enough to know that if someone's talking to me just to argue, then I should know better than to not argue with this person. I should know how to, calm down people when someone's getting upset, when someone's getting angry. How do you calm down someone? And one thing, and we can all agree upon this, if you want to bring people together, if you want to bring them together, just have some food. Food is something that really brings people together. And if you have, this happened actually, I know this example in the MSA, when the brothers were setting up a da'wah booth, and they were inviting people, they were passing out pamphlets about Islam. All they did is they had some water and they had some baklawa. So when they were giving out information about Islam, they would give people, baklawa and then a water bottle as well. Not sure why that combination came about, but that's what they were passing out to everyone. So a person came about, and this person obviously very, passionate and says, Jesus is the Son of God, and Muhammad is not a prophet. He keeps saying these things, and he's very angry. He's very upset about this. And he comes by the booth, and then all the brothers do is just give him some food and give him some water, and then that's it. They say, well, what do you think about Islam? And he just keeps going off and off. And they say, you're entitled to your opinion, but how's the food? Is the food good? So they talk to him about this, and then you can see that person just completely changes. He realizes that what's going on? These people aren't talking back to me. They aren't getting angry. They're completely different. Ex-guard of Guantanamo Bay, he shared this story, and he came here and he shared this story as well. He said that, they sometimes used to torture, the Muslims that were there. They used to torture them, and then these Muslims would not fight back. They would just, be patient and say, Allah is with us. And they didn't understand, these prison guards, they didn't understand, why are these people not fighting back? They're not saying anything. What's wrong with them? And that's with that patience, with that perseverance, some of those people, and one of those people that tell the story, he actually became Muslim because of that, right? إِنَّ رَبَّكَ هُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِمَنْ ضَلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِهِ وَهُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِالْمُهْتَدِينَ. And Allah is the only one. Allah is the only one that's going to be able to know who's going to be able to make it on this path, and who's going to be guided, and who's going to be misguided. He's the only one. He is the ultimate one that can hold this. So now, why did I discuss this? Why, out of all the topics I could have chosen, different things I could have talked about, why did I talk about this? Because I felt like we need to learn how to sometimes invite people to Islam. And because of the current situation that we are in, the new masjid that we are about to build, inshallah. For that we need to be ready. We need to make sure that we're not just building this structure, that we are mentally prepared to invite people to Islam. And I said this, during the Eid Salah, and I said this many other times in the Jumma Khutba. We've talked about it many times, and now the weekend is finally here. The weekend is here. We're October 4th, inshallah, 12:30 to 4. We're having an event to help, build this masjid and finish the project that we've started. And actually, alhamdulillah, our event is almost sold out, inshallah. And then by tomorrow, inshallah, it'll be sold out. But the thing is, we're not just here talking about fundraisers, but we also want the community to be learning. We want them to learn about their deen. So not only are we having this event, but we're also having a class with the speaker, Imam Suhaib Webb, who's going to give a really good class where some people are driving all the way from Diamond Bar and different parts of Southern California to attend this. But unfortunately, we haven't sold that many tickets for that class. So that one is still open. I highly encourage everyone because this is our chance to actually learn and understand and be able to learn how we can invite people to Islam. And let us start something. Let's put a mark in the history of Islamic Center of South Bay that we as a community, together, as a family, the youth, the women, the men, together, we started this project and we finished it and we moved this community to a positive direction. And we don't want just a masjid that just looks good from the outside, but we ask Allah for help. And we ask Allah to please help us with the community that's inside that masjid, to help it grow, to help it flourish, and help it become active as well. Ameen. Everyone say Ameen. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us and keep us away from these poisonous conversations and help us, teach us a way where we can invite people to Islam with good character and good manner. Ameen. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون وأقم الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
دائما أبدا لا إله إلا الله استقيموا واعتدلوا استووا راسوا الحمد الله أكبر الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار فأنقذكم منها كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون ولتكن منكم أمة يدعون إلى الخير ويأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر وأولئك هم المفلحون ولا تكونوا كالذين تفرقوا واختلفوا من بعد ما جاءهم البينات وأولئك لهم عذاب عظيم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. إنما المؤمنون إخوة فأصلحوا بين أخويكم واتقوا الله لعلكم ترحمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم ولا نساء من نساء عسى أن يكن خيرا منهم ولا تلمزوا أنفسكم ولا تنابزوا بالألقاب بئس الاسم الفسوق بعد الإيمان ومن لم يتب فأولئك هم الظالمون. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And thanks, Anis Rahman, for the excellent program. MashaAllah. Next week, Khatib will be rather Hafiz. Next week on Jumma, also, we will be officially welcoming our Hujjaj, the Hajis who are coming back. And MashaAllah, they are breathing a fresh new air amongst all of us. Especially, they are bringing a lot of gifts and toys to all of us and Zamzam. So, inshallah, next Friday night at the Salat al-Maghrib, we all should join hands and listen to their, mashallah, experiences that they had in their ibadah. There are a lot of good programs happening in your masjid. Last week's Saturday's Carnival was a big success. You are welcome to visit the new building, go to the basement, go to the main floor. Feel free to walk around and see how the building is coming up, mashallah, tremendous amount of speed. There will be a fundraiser this Sunday, the 4th, from 12:30 to 4 o'clock. It will be in Palasverdes at the North Pavilion, and come and join us. Sheikh Sohaib Bair will be there. There are flyers available. Inshallah, they are outside on the table. So you can get the flyers and attend that function. It's your responsibility, our responsibility to make the event successful so that inshallah we can build the masjid. I should warn you that the building construction on one hand is going very speedily and mashallah is coming up. With the same token, El Nino, the huge rain is staring right in our eyes. So the weatherproofing needs to be done to the building, so the funds are needed. So your help, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you for all your help. Sheikh Sohaib Web, Sheikh Mandar Talib, and Baba Ali, and these people are going to be there. The same day, Sunday, also, it's not just the building we are building, we are bringing the programs, inshallah, to the community, to your center. So Sheikh Sohaib Web, who is a world-renowned alim himself, mashallah, he will be conducting a class. Healing of the heart, there are flyers available to that effect. From 7 to 10, dinner will be served, and he'll be conducting class, inshallah, this Sunday, right here in our center. So tickets are available outside for that class also. All these affairs are the family affairs. So when you come to attend the lecture or learn the class, bring your own family with you, inshallah, so we can learn together. Quran class is being conducted, mashallah, with our own Qari Anas, and we just heard, mashallah, beautiful qira. So learn yourself the tajweed and bring your family, bring your children, become students of that class. Weekend Islamic school is happening. The masjid does not need to throw away junk from your homes. For the last 2-3 days, 175 large trash bags have been thrown out of your masjid. All kind of junk people brought in for the yard sale to give away. You should not give something to somebody that you would not use yourself. So anything that you bring to the masjid, first of all, no furniture. We have no space, we have no accommodation. So bring packaged new stuff to be given away to other people or sold, so that we can raise some funds for the masjid, but do not bring broken electronic supplies or used shoes and clothes and so on and so forth. It's junk. The masjid should be a clean place. I'm sure you won't keep them in your house while you are bringing it to the house of Allah. Visit our website, you get all the information. The webcam captures all the lectures and the khutbas. They are being streamed and live broadcast is being done. So you can see Science and Technology Center of your school is offering its current class, next class which is coming up, which will be tomorrow, is it logical? Logic puzzle class that Google and Apple are doing, and there are flyers to that effect available also at 2 p.m. Saturdays. So enroll your children to that class, inshallah. Donate generously for the general funds of the masjid. For the new building, we still need used cars. So some families desperately need help in that area. There's a halal lunch being served outside. So that helps the masjid. I'll ask the Sheikh to say the dua for sick and disease.
الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على حبيبنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم صل على محمد في الأولين والآخرين وفي كل وقت وحين وفي الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين. اللهم يا ربي لك الحمد ملء السماوات وملء الأرض وملء ما بينهما وملء ما شئت من شيء بعد. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات. اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين وأعلي بفضلك راية الحق والدين. اللهم انصر المرابطين في كل مكان فوق كل أرض وتحت كل سماء. اللهم اغفر لنا وارحمنا وعافنا واعف عنا. اللهم ارزقنا الإخلاص في أقوالنا وأعمالنا. اللهم ارزقنا الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى ومن العمل ما ترضى. اللهم يسر أمرنا واجبر كسرنا وارحم ضعفنا. اللهم اغفر ذنبنا. اللهم اغفر ذنبنا. اللهم اغفر ذنبنا. اللهم اشف مرضانا وارحم موتانا وعاف مبتلانا. اللهم اشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين وارحم موتانا وموتى المسلمين. ربنا اغفر لنا ولوالدينا ولمشايخنا ولمن علمنا ولكل من له فضل علينا. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Thank you.